A corroded lump of bronze the size of a shoebox contained 37 interlocking gears, and it was built 2,000 years ago. By the end of this video, you will understand why this single object forced scientists to rewrite the entire timeline of human technological achievement. This device could predict solar eclipses, track 5 planets across the sky, and model the moon's irregular orbit, simultaneously, using nothing but hand-cut bronze gears. But here is the part that almost nobody realizes: the next device of comparable mechanical complexity wouldn't appear on Earth for another 1,400 years. In 1900, a Greek sponge diver named Elias Stadiatis surfaced from 50 meters of water near the island of Antikythera, shaking with cold, and with a story about a heap of rotting bodies on the seafloor. Those were not bodies, they were bronze and marble statues spilling from a Roman cargo ship that sank around 60 BCE, the richest underwater archaeological find the world had ever seen. Among the statues, coins, and glassware, one corroded lump of wood and bronze went mostly unnoticed for months, until it split open and revealed a gear wheel perfectly cut in ancient bronze. Archaeologist Valerio Staes immediately recognized something impossible: ancient Greeks were not supposed to know how to make precision gearing. The mechanism was ignored by mainstream scholarship for half a century. Most historians simply refused to believe it was genuine, assuming it must have fallen into the wreck from a later era. Then in 1951, British physicist Derek de Solla Price got access to the fragments and spent 20 years taking them apart with X-rays, and what he found shattered the timeline of science. Price counted at least 30 gears, possibly more than 70 in the original complete device, all machined to tolerances of half a millimeter, matching the precision of an 18th century pocket watch. So how did ancient engineers achieve that level of precision 2 millennia before the Industrial Revolution? The answer begins on the island of Rhodes, home to a school of astronomical mathematics so advanced it produced Hipparchus, the man who first calculated the moon's elliptical path around Earth. Hipparchus discovered that the moon speeds up and slows down in its orbit, a phenomenon called lunar anomaly, and the Antikythera Mechanism models this variation with a pin and slot gear that literally accelerates and decelerates as it turns. That single mechanical insight, a pin offset from the center of a rotating disc riding in a slot on the next gear, is called an epicyclic gear train, and engineers rediscovered it independently during the Renaissance. But here is where it gets genuinely strange: the back of the mechanism carries 2 spiral dials, one tracking a 19-year cycle and one tracking a 223-month cycle, and these numbers are not arbitrary. The 19-year metonic cycle is the precise period after which the moon returns to the same phase on the same day of the year. It is still used today to calculate the date of Easter. The 223-month Saros cycle is even more powerful. It is the exact interval at which solar eclipses repeat in the same geometry. The Babylonians discovered it, and the mechanism encoded it in bronze. Turn the hand crank on the side of the mechanism forward by 1 day, and every pointer on every dial advances correctly: the sun, moon, all 5 visible planets, the eclipse predictor, and the Greek calendar simultaneously. This is the moment to stop and ask, who was actually using this device, and what were they doing with it? The ship carrying it was almost certainly headed to Rome, and the leading theory is that the mechanism was either a teaching tool for wealthy patrons or a navigational and calendar instrument for Roman state ceremonies. Cicero himself wrote in 77 BCE about a bronze sphere, built by Archimedes' associate Posidonius, that modeled the motions of the sun, moon, and planets, and historians now believe the Antikythera Mechanism may be exactly that device, or one of its direct descendants. Using tomographic X-ray scanning in 2006 and again in 2016, the Antikythera Mechanism research project decoded over 3,400 characters of hidden text inscribed on the gears themselves, a full instruction manual, invisible to the naked eye for 2,000 years. That text names the planets by their Corinthian dialect names: Stilben for Mercury, Pyroeus for Mars, placing the device's origin almost certainly in the Corinthian colony of Syracuse, the city of Archimedes. The mechanism also carries a Fourier games dial that tracks the schedule of the Olympic, Pythian, Isthmian, and Nemean games, the sporting calendar of the entire Greek world encoded in bronze. So this was not purely a scientific instrument, it was a civic and political object, connecting astronomy to the rhythms of Greek public life. Now, and this is the question that has haunted scholars for decades, why did nothing like it survive, and why did no one build another one for 14 centuries? The most likely answer is that the knowledge was concentrated in a small network of Rhodian and Syracusan workshops, transmitted by personal apprenticeship rather than written text, and those workshops were wiped out by the Roman conquest and the sack of Syracuse in 212 BCE. When the knowledge holders died, the knowledge died with them, not because the science was too hard, but because the social network that carried it was destroyed. In 2021, University College London researcher Tony Freeth published a new reconstruction that finally decodes the front planetary display, showing Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, and Mercury each driven by its own independent epicyclic gear train. That reconstruction requires exactly the number of gears that fit into the original housing, meaning the complete device, if rebuilt today, would be about the size of a thick hardcover book and contain more than 70 precision-cut bronze wheels. Think about what that means. The ancient engineers had to envision a mathematical model of the entire solar system, as known to them, and then translate every ratio and cycle into a ratio of gear teeth. The gear ratio for Venus, for example, requires 462 teeth distributed across 5 meshing wheels, a calculation derived from the 8-year Venus cycle that Babylonian astronomers had been tracking for centuries. Every one of those gear ratios was computed by hand, verified by astronomical observation over generations, and then physically embodied in metal, a feat of mathematical engineering that Europe would not attempt again until the 14th century clock towers of Italy. And now, here at the end, pull back from the gears and the numbers for a moment, because what you are really looking at is someone's life work. Somewhere in Rhodes or Syracuse around 100 BCE, a human being, someone with a family, a city, worries about tomorrow, spent years of their one life cutting those gears so precisely that we are still marveling at them 21 centuries later. Their name is lost, erased by the same historical silence that nearly erased their invention, yet their mind persists, encoded in bronze, at the bottom of a Greek sea for 2,000 years before anyone noticed. That is the real lesson of the Antikythera Mechanism. The capacity for extraordinary thought has always been inside us. It is not a modern invention, it is an ancient inheritance that we keep rediscovering. The ocean kept this secret for 20 centuries, and it took a sponge diver, a physicist with an X-ray machine, and a CT scanner to finally hear what that nameless engineer was trying to say: the universe has a pattern, and we are the creatures who figured it out. Follow Science Explained daily for more.